In the heart of every soldier lies a story the world has never heard. Beyond the walls of hidden bases, above the skies where eagles dare to fly, and inside the silence of missions never spoken of, there are tales of courage, sacrifice, and secrets buried in shadows. Welcome to Black Eagle Base. Skies of valor, secrets of war. Here, every story rises, and no hero is ever forgotten. The desert was still. The air tasted like dust and iron, heavy with the scent of oil fires that painted the horizon in a strange, bloody glow. Night vision lenses painted the battlefield in eerie green, and every soldier crouched low in silence, knowing one wrong move could expose their position to the enemy. The Navy SEAL team had been deployed deep behind hostile lines, tasked with stopping a meeting of 3 enemy generals who had masterminded months of chaos, ambushes, bombings, assassinations. Eliminating them in one strike could save thousands of lives. But the mission had reached a breaking point. The generals had arrived at their compound, hidden within a fortress surrounded by hundreds of guards, cameras, and snipers on every rooftop. The SEAL commander, a grizzled veteran with scars across his cheek, clenched his jaw as he peered through his scope. He muttered under his breath, "No one can make that shot. Not from this distance, not with the wind cutting like that." He glanced at the young woman lying prone on the ridge beside him, her face hidden behind her sniper mask. She was still as stone, her breathing so controlled that even the desert wind seemed louder. Her name was Lieutenant Sarah Kane. To most of the world, she was invisible, a ghost in camouflage. To the men who served with her, she was a quiet enigma, someone who rarely spoke but never failed in a mission. Tonight, though, the impossible was staring back at her. The generals were seated inside the compound, shielded by bulletproof glass, 200 meters beyond the standard effective range. Even worse, a sharp crosswind howled across the valley, shifting unpredictably. Any shot, no matter how skilled, would drift off target. The commander shook his head again. "We'll have to call in air support. We can't risk it." But Sarah's voice broke the silence. Calm, steady, unshaken. "Give me the shot." The men glanced at her, some with disbelief, others with cautious hope. She wasn't arrogant. She wasn't reckless. Her tone carried something deeper, conviction, as though she could already see the bullets tearing through the glass, already hear the silence after chaos. The commander studied her face, saw no tremor of doubt in her eyes, and finally nodded. "All right, it's yours." Sarah adjusted her rifle with hands that moved like a pianist finding familiar keys. Every motion was precise, setting the bipod, dialing the scope, compensating for elevation, factoring in humidity, temperature, and the erratic gusts of wind. She inhaled, then exhaled slowly, emptying herself of every thought until only the target remained. In the compound below, the 3 generals leaned forward at their table, laughing over a map of planned attacks. They had no idea that death was watching them from the ridge. Sarah whispered to herself, 3 breaths, 3 rounds, 3 souls. The first shot cracked through the night like thunder. The bullet sliced across the valley, invisible but unstoppable, curving with the wind before slamming dead center into the first general's forehead. His body slumped over the table, blood splattering across the map. The other 2 snapped their heads up in shock, confusion ripping through the compound. Soldiers outside panicked, unsure where the shot had come from. Sarah didn't flinch. She had already adjusted for the second target. The second shot tore through the glass, striking the next general between the eyes before he even had the chance to stand. He collapsed backward, chair toppling over, his hand frozen mid-reach toward his pistol. The compound erupted in chaos. Guards scrambled, alarms wailed, searchlights swept across the desert. But by the time they moved, Sarah was already lined up for the third. The commander whispered, almost in disbelief, "No way." The third shot rang out. Silence followed. The last general's head snapped back violently, his lifeless body dropping across the table alongside his fallen comrades. 3 shots. 3 generals. 3 headshots. The men around Sarah sat in stunned silence. Even the commander, hardened by decades of war, blinked slowly as though he'd just witnessed something beyond explanation. He finally breathed out, his voice low but reverent. "God help me, she did it." But the mission wasn't over. The compound roared alive with fury. Dozens of vehicles roared into the desert, engines growling like beasts as they tried to pursue the SEAL team's escape route. Machine gun fire tore across the ridge, dirt exploding inches from Sarah's cheek. The commander barked, "Move. Extraction in 5 minutes." The team ran through the shadows, ducking bullets, leaping over rocks and ravines as helicopters thundered toward their location. Sarah stayed at the rear, firing cover shots with surgical precision, each round buying her team another breath of survival. Not once did her hands tremble. Not once did her focus waver. When the choppers descended, rotors whipping the desert into storms of sand, Sarah was the last one aboard. She turned once, looking back at the compound still burning with chaos. 3 silhouettes lay lifeless inside, their reign of terror ended by her unshakable hand. On the flight back, no one spoke for a long time. Then one soldier finally muttered, "I didn't think it was possible." The commander leaned forward, his voice heavy with something close to awe. "No one can make that shot. No one but her." The team glanced at Sarah. She sat quietly, eyes closed, her rifle resting beside her. She didn't need their praise. She didn't need recognition. For her, it wasn't about glory or proving them wrong. It was about the lives saved, the families who would never know how close death had come. Hours later, as dawn broke across the horizon, Sarah stepped off the chopper. The rising sun painted the sky in crimson and gold, as if honoring the sacrifice and courage of the night. She walked across the tarmac, shoulders squared, heart steady. To the world, she was just another soldier in fatigues, her name unknown, her deeds unspoken. But to those who had been there, to those who had seen the impossible, she was more than a sniper. She was a guardian, and sometimes, guardians don't need medals. Sometimes, they just need to know they kept hope alive. If you were moved by this story, if Sarah's courage and skill touched something deep in you, please take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who needs inspiration, and subscribe for more powerful stories that remind us of the strength we carry within. Your support keeps these stories alive, and every comment you leave becomes part of this journey. Because heroes walk among us. Some carry rifles, some carry scars, and some, like Sarah, carry the weight of the world in silence, until the moment comes when they must act. And when they do, the world will never forget.